When Candace Owens said she had come across details about Meghan Markle's past that no one had ever seen, the internet froze. Because this time, it wasn't about her fashion, feuds, or family drama. No, this was about something far deeper. A story buried so long ago that most people didn't even know it existed. And according to whispers online, it traces all the way back to her college days at Northwestern University. Long before the royal titles, long before the fame, and long before anyone called her the Duchess. Now, the story making rounds isn't coming from tabloids. It's coming from people who claim to have been there. Alleged classmates, online alumni groups, and even old campus insiders who say something happened, something big, that changed Meghan's life forever. According to those rumors, it all began inside a sorority house. A prank that was supposed to be harmless suddenly went horribly wrong. The claim? Meghan allegedly swapped a tube of eyelash glue with superglue during a sorority event. And when another girl used it, things spiraled. Fast. The story goes that the victim ended up in the hospital with her eyes sealed shut. What started as a silly joke allegedly turned into a full-blown crisis. Some people online even claim there were legal threats. Others say Meghan was either suspended or expelled. Now, whether that's true or not, what everyone seems to agree on is this. After that day, Meghan vanished. No one saw her around campus. No classes, no social events, no appearances. She was just gone. And that's when things get strange. Because when she finally resurfaced months later, the Meghan her classmates remembered wasn't the same Meghan who came back. Gone was the stressed-out college girl, replaced by someone completely transformed, polished, confident, and already spinning new stories. Instead of talking about missed classes or finals, she was talking about yachts in the Mediterranean, glamorous parties, and meetings with foreign men of influence. The question everyone started whispering was simple. How did a college student end up living a life like that? Some say she was invited onto luxury yachts as part of elite social circles. Others claim it was networking. A few online voices go further, suggesting she learned how powerful people operated, how charm, image, and silence could get you further than any degree. Whatever it was, it changed her. Because when Meghan came back, she wasn't just returning to school, she was reinventing herself. And that's where the story of the missing semester begins. Now, here's the thing. Years later, Meghan would tell the world that she graduated from Northwestern with a dual degree in theater and international relations. It sounded impressive, the kind of thing that fits perfectly into the royal image. But when people started checking, something didn't line up. Northwestern University later confirmed that the exact dual degree Meghan claimed didn't actually exist. It wasn't possible to complete both majors in that way. And the supposed graduation photos that floated around, internet sleuths say they looked off. The colors on the robes didn't match Northwestern's official graduation gowns. The background didn't look like the campus, and the people around her, not classmates anyone could recognize. In gossip circles, that's when a new theory emerged, that the photos were staged later, not taken on campus at all. It might sound wild, but here's where it gets even more tangled. Candace Owens' investigation, according to online chatter, didn't just highlight the missing degree. It exposed a pattern that seemed to follow Meghan from her college days right into the palace. Stories rewritten, timelines blurred, details adjusted until they looked perfect from the outside. And that's where her father, Thomas Markle, allegedly enters the picture. Multiple rumors claim he was the fixer, the man who quietly paid to smooth things over whenever something went wrong. According to whispers, after that supposed sorority prank, he may have even covered the costs to make sure the issue disappeared completely. Some people online throw around a number, $200,000, though no one can verify it. But they all say the same thing. Whatever happened, Thomas Markle made sure it never touched her record. From there, Meghan's missing semester vanished too. No suspension on file, no leave notice, no statement from the university, nothing. Just a blank space in her story. And that's when her next chapter began. The carefully crafted version of Meghan Markle the world would later meet. She began telling stories of her time at Northwestern, but always in a particular way. She'd say, "I went to Northwestern." Notice, never "I graduated from Northwestern," just went. And from that one phrase, an entire image was built. The academic girl turned humanitarian. The hardworking student turned global citizen. It was perfect. Almost too perfect. Because when people started digging deeper, they found that none of it quite added up. That so-called embassy internship in Argentina? Real, but brief. Mostly clerical tasks, not the glamorous diplomatic experience she described. Her supposed fluency in Spanish? Experts pointed out that it's nearly impossible to reach that level in a 6-week internship. Yet somehow, it became part of her official story. And then came the palace. When Meghan married into the royal family, her entire biography was rewritten. Not by tabloids, but by Buckingham Palace itself. On their official website, they described her as a graduate of Northwestern University, holding that same dual degree that never existed. They mentioned her fluency in Spanish, her international studies, her diplomatic background, all of it presented as royal fact. That's when gossip forums exploded, because this wasn't just a celebrity exaggerating her past. This was the British monarchy validating it. For many, that was the turning point. People started saying, wait a second, if the palace didn't check her credentials, what else didn't they check? Because now, it wasn't just Meghan's story that was being questioned, it was the crown's credibility. And as more and more people started piecing together inconsistencies, the missing semester, the unverified degree, the fake-looking graduation photos, it began to look less like coincidence and more like construction. A crafted image, a controlled narrative, a story so carefully written that it fooled not just Hollywood but the monarchy itself. But like every illusion, the truth eventually started to surface. Years later, quietly and without explanation, the royal website made a change. All references to Meghan's dual degree and international relations background disappeared. No statement, no correction, just gone. And that silence, that single quiet deletion, spoke louder than any denial could. Because if everything was true, why erase it? What was the palace hiding? Or rather, what were they admitting without ever saying a word? And suddenly, the missing semester wasn't just a college rumor anymore. It had become the foundation of a much bigger question. Who is Meghan Markle really? Because if the first version of her story was rewritten, what about everything that came after? After the quiet deletion from the royal website, the whispers turned into full-blown conversation. Online forums, gossip channels, and former classmates started revisiting every little detail from Meghan's past. Because once something like that vanishes from an official royal page, people start asking why. The university degree, the embassy internship, the supposed fluency, all of it had been presented as verified fact. Yet suddenly, those same details were erased without explanation. No palace statement, no correction, just silence. And in royal circles, silence usually means one thing: damage control. People close to the palace allegedly said there was growing discomfort inside the institution, that some senior staff were stunned when they realized no one had ever verified Meghan's credentials before publishing them. They had simply taken her word for it, because at the time, Meghan was the perfect PR symbol. Young, modern, American, biracial, educated. She was everything the monarchy needed to look progressive and connected to the modern world. So when she presented her background, nobody questioned it. Nobody asked for documents, transcripts, or confirmations. Why would they? She was charming, articulate, confident. She knew exactly what to say and how to say it. And that's how, according to rumors, a small exaggeration about a degree evolved into an official royal biography. But the thing about carefully built images is that they're fragile. It only takes one missing piece for the whole illusion to start crumbling. That missing semester, the time she reportedly disappeared from Northwestern, suddenly became the key to the entire mystery. Alumni forums began resurfacing old threads where students remembered something happening with a sorority. Others recalled a sudden departure, but no one had ever connected it to her polished royal story until now. And then came the most surprising part: the alleged payout. According to unverified online claims, Thomas Markle, Meghan's father, might have quietly settled the situation years ago. Some say around $200,000. Of course, there's no paperwork or official record to prove any of it, but what's consistent in all the retellings is that soon after the supposed incident, Meghan's problems disappeared. The victim, if she existed, was never named. The university stayed silent, and Meghan's path continued, just somewhere else. That's when her name started appearing in very different social circles. Stories began circulating about Mediterranean trips, private yachts, and exclusive parties. Online gossip boards describe it as the yacht scene, a glamorous but secretive world where wealthy businessmen and socialites mixed with aspiring models and actresses. Nobody knows what's true and what's exaggerated, but those stories have followed Meghan for years. They paint a picture of a young woman learning how the elite moved, how power worked, how connections were made, and how image was everything. It was during this time, rumor has it, that Meghan learned her most valuable lesson: control the story and you control the truth. So by the time she returned to public life, she had rewritten herself. She wasn't a student who vanished mid-degree anymore. She was the international, bilingual graduate who'd worked at an embassy, studied global politics, and walked across a Northwestern stage. And because no one challenged it then, that story became her truth. Years later, when the palace accepted it, that truth became history. But when the royal biography was finally edited, when those facts disappeared from the website, it was as if the illusion cracked. For years, people believed in the image of Meghan Markle, the accomplished scholar, the global humanitarian, the royal outsider who'd broken every barrier. And maybe parts of that were real. But once the edits appeared, a darker question emerged online. How much of her story was actually true? Those same discussions led many to notice the lack of evidence around her college life. There are pictures from her high school days, from her early acting gigs, from her first Hollywood appearances, but there's not a single verified photo of her graduation. No class pictures, no degree certificate ever made public. For someone who documented nearly everything, that absence stood out like a flashing red light. Some people brushed it off as privacy. Others believed it was part of the cover-up that started years earlier. The missing semester theory began to make sense to a lot of people. That Meghan's disappearance from campus was tied to punishment, not a planned break. And if that's true, it would explain why she could never finish her program, why the degree didn't check out, and why her graduation pictures look staged. It's a puzzle where every piece fits a little too neatly once you start connecting them. And then came Candace Owens. When she announced that she'd found undisclosed details about Meghan's college years, the online world erupted. People thought she was bluffing until she began dropping hints. She spoke about missing records, sealed incidents, and stories that don't appear in official timelines. It wasn't proof, but it was enough to ignite the fire again. Suddenly, the story wasn't just gossip, it was trending. And as these rumors grew louder, something shifted in the public view of Meghan. Because once you question the foundation of someone's story, every part of it starts to look different. The humanitarian image, the global advocate, the perfect royal rebel, all of it starts to blur when people begin to wonder if it was built on something false. But here's where it gets almost poetic. Every lie, or alleged lie, needs an audience. Meghan had one from the start. Classmates who admired her confidence, casting agents who loved her charm, royal advisors who trusted her narrative, millions of fans who believed in the fairy tale. She told her story, and the world repeated it back to her, until it became the truth everyone accepted. That's the power of storytelling, and Meghan Markle, according to many, mastered it better than anyone. Still, the question remains. If her academic background, her degree, and her supposed achievements were exaggerated, what does that say about everything else? Was it all strategy? Was it all image? Or was it simply survival? A woman crafting the version of herself she needed to succeed? Even now, no one can say for sure. Northwestern University maintains its records, Buckingham Palace refuses to comment, and Meghan herself never directly addressed the rumors. The silence from all sides keeps the mystery alive, and maybe that's the way she prefers it, because in the absence of answers, people fill in the blanks, and the blanks in Meghan's story are endless. What's left today is not just a duchess or a former actress, it's a symbol, a reminder of how powerful perception can be, how one missing semester can turn into a missing truth, how a carefully built image can rise all the way to Buckingham Palace before collapsing under something as simple as a university record. So when people ask, how could a story like this go unnoticed for so long? The answer is simple. It wasn't unnoticed, it was unchallenged. Because as long as the narrative looked beautiful, no one wanted to question it. Now, years later, that beauty has cracks. The missing degree, the erased biography, the vanished records, they tell their own story. A story of a woman who understood better than anyone that the truth doesn't always matter, as long as the story sounds good. And that's the irony, because the woman once celebrated for her authenticity might be remembered, at least by her critics, for something entirely different, the art of illusion. So as the dust settles, one question lingers in the air, louder than ever. If a lie, or even just a rumor, could carry someone this far, how much farther could the truth have taken her? Could the truth have taken her? Could the truth